We know mounts are coming to New World this year, but what's exciting is we also now know that there's going to be a riding profession. Due to a possible bug on the PTR, we can see it not quite in its full glory. Now, you've all probably seen this by now. If you look in fall under the expansion category, you can quite clearly see mounts. We're expecting that to be this year, fall or autumn for the Brits. That ends technically at the end of December, like the 20th of December, something like that. So mounts are coming this year, which is a little bit sooner than I expected. And perhaps they're actually more progressed than we thought, because if we jump into game, we see this. So I didn't realize this last night whilst I was on the PTR, but if you're in game, you press escape and you go to character and you have a look at trade skills, well, what's this little sneaky one right in the bottom right hand corner under casual? Okay, well, there you have it. UI riding. So, I mean, we're going to get a riding profession by the sound of it. Whether or not it'll stay in this casual category, I'm not sure. Now, you might think, hey, Jay, click it so we find out what it's about. Like, you can click music. Well, you can't click it. Unfortunately, it literally just shows the box. So the actual amount of information here isn't very high. But we do know, effectively, I think this confirms that we're going to get a riding trading profession. Now, what is that going to be? Well, obviously, that's the million-dollar question, right? We have absolutely no idea. It's interesting that it's in the casual category. I sort of suspect that you'll be able to ride, or probably like any mount just by default, but maybe the higher up you level it, maybe the faster you can go, maybe the more weight it can carry. Let's go back to Elder Scrolls DLC with armor. I don't think it'll be armor, but I don't think it'll be combat related if they're putting it into the casual section. I'll be surprised if mounts actually are combat mounts, like you can actually fight on the mount. It seems unlikely to me. I don't necessarily think it will be breeding, because otherwise you wouldn't call it riding, you'd call it breeding. But maybe there's going to be another slot, maybe somewhere else there could be a breeding profession as well. Who knows? There's all kinds of things that it could be. And to be fair, I think they very strongly hinted that there would be a profession that came along with it, but a couple of us weren't sure what would that profession be. Would it be riding? Would it be breeding? Would it be combat? Like, what kind of thing would it actually be? Well, we sort of have confirmation here that it looks like they're targeting it to be riding. And I have to tell you right now, in my head, I can't personally think of what you would add in there for it to be worth it. I think speed would make sense, but then it's sort of like you're going to have to do it. Weight would maybe make sense, perhaps. I'm not sure about that. Maybe the mounts will have some kind of sprint and maybe it'll like affect the duration of that or the regen of that. Maybe they'll actually have flying mounts at some point and you need to be level 200. What's weird about that is, how are you going to level up a riding profession? I'm really not sure. Now, there is a question there whether or not the game even needs mounts, right? I see people being like, I love the idea of mounts, so great. And then I see a lot of other people being like, the game doesn't need mounts. And the game right now does not need mounts. That's in my personal opinion, obviously. And especially when you consider, like, look how many, travel points there are and shrines and stuff like that. Even in Cutlass Keys, they've added some more. You can pretty much get to wherever you want on the map relatively quickly just by being able to teleport around. So I would agree with you that the game doesn't need mounts. Mounts would have been fantastic, by the way, when Azoth traveling was very expensive and there weren't more points and you actually had to go from one place to another and the trading post wasn't linked and stuff like that. Like, if the game launched with mounts and you couldn't travel very fast and you didn't want to pay for Azoth travel all the time, beautiful. I think that would have been fantastic, right? But now the ship has sort of sailed. Everybody's used to effectively like free Azoth travel. I know it's like 20 Azoth, whatever, but nobody's really bothered about it. I mean, look at Brimstone. You can just travel almost anywhere you like with it. There's a couple of places where you have to run, like if you go into the middle here, you have to run there, right? But you're right, I would agree that the game in its current iteration doesn't need mounts. However, we're not going to get the game in its current iteration, are we? We're going to get it in the expansion iteration. Now, a lot of people are questioning, what does this mean? A zone transformed? Some people are speculating that it's literally just going to be First Light completely reworked. Now, that could be the case, but if I'm honest, I would expect a little bit more than just one new zone being reworked in an expansion. I think they're playing their cards close to their chest for a reason. I think we might almost see, not a total map rework, because I think that would be a bit much, but I think we're going to see a couple of new zones. And I think we'll see a lot of Eternum as we know it change quite drastically. And I think it might relate a little bit to mounts. We might see more open spaces, less teleportation and stuff like that. Effectively, they might make the world a little bit more inconvenient so that you have to ride and actually be a bit more connected to the world. Because right now, you're not very connected to the world. You just teleport from place to place and you end up wherever you want to be. So maybe that will change. I do think that obviously this is not going to be an all-encompassing list of what's in this expansion. Like, if you look at Season 4, there's more things in Season 4 than there is in the expansion. That's not going to be the case, right? I wouldn't be surprised if there is going to be swimming and all kinds of stuff here. They're just playing it very cautiously. They don't want to tell us everything. Not until we get a trailer, then we'll start seeing proper hype for this. But they're not ready for that yet. We'll probably start seeing the hype for this once some patch is sort of out. I think we'll see a trailer probably at the, I was going to say E3, but it's not called E3 anymore, and it's not called the Game Awards. I think it's just called the Games Expo, the thing that happens in summer, and it's the big summer event where like everybody shows off the games. I think we'll probably get a trailer there and then. So you're right, I don't think the game needs mounts either right now, but I'm hoping that the world will change enough that it makes sense. I know some of you will be disappointed that there's probably not going to be combat, but personally I'm on board with whatever this riding skill is, and I'm very intrigued to what it actually will be. I think mounts will add a nice little collectible element to the game. We know we're going to get proper like collectibles in the transmog patch. I think adding mounts just gives you another way of collecting things. And let's face it, there's going to be free ways of collecting things, and there's definitely going to be cashed up ways of affecting things and buying things. We've seen this with the gear sets and stuff like that, right? So they're going to monetize it as well, and that's fine as long as it's just cosmetic. If there's any kind of power behind it, that will obviously be really like sad, and we'll keep an eye on that. You know me with the pay to win argument at the minute. If there is pay to win there, I'll be calling it out for sure. Do not worry about that. Not sure how I managed to ramble that long about this subject, but I did. If you want to support me and help me grow, then becoming a YouTube member or Patreon is truly the best way. I will be streaming more on Twitch, as I said, like in a couple of videos right now. I've not streamed the last couple of days simply because I've been making so many videos. But I absolutely have been streaming as much as I can, and I will be streaming more as soon as I get the time. What you should definitely do though is have a most beautiful, beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.